Hello, Serge here for the Backyard Driving Range. Okay, today I want to talk about something that's really important for making a good golf swing, peak performance golf swing. Now, I'm going to talk about staying still in the swing, keeping your head still. Anybody, when I start a lesson, I ask everybody, how long have you been playing golf? Now we got to go back about 23 years to get to 1992 when the paradigm shift happened, when the X Factor came into vogue. All right? Prior to 1992, if you were taught golf, one of the first things they ever told you was, you must keep your head still. You cannot move your head if you want to play good golf. All right? 1992, 93, the X Factor came into vogue. I'm sitting in a PGA seminar, which at the time was called the Teaching and Coaching Summit in San Francisco. There were 3 top 50 teachers in America standing up here on the stage making the first presentation of that 2-day summit, or however long it was. And there was probably at least 600, 700, 800, might even been 1,000 pros in there. It was a monster auditorium, and it was filled up. And they were pros from all over the world. And they stood up there and they said, they were talking about the X Factor. They said, we're here to tell you the rules have changed. It's okay to move your head a little in the swing. I'm sitting out there in the audience, and at the time, I was also one of those top 50 teachers. They're up on the stage, I wasn't, so I'm sitting in the audience, but it's all right to move your head a little. I want to jump up so fast and say, okay, why is it all right to move it a little now, and how much is a little? That was such a vague statement, but I knew the answer, but I wasn't certain that they would know the answer. The answer is very simple. As long as your head stays attached to your shoulders by your neck, if you turn your body too much, your head has to move, as long as it's attached. All right? There's no human being alive can realistically turn their shoulders more than 90 degrees, and if they're really keeping their head, trying to keep their head still to their shoulders, can turn that much and have the head stay still. I challenge any one of you, look at any videos or sequential photos of Tiger Woods. He makes a turn where he starts at address. You draw a line from his nose to the ground to the ball. It's right on line with the ball. He turns his shoulders way past the 70 degrees over the toe line like we want. He turns to where the upper part of his left arm is just about at a right angle to his toe. So I'm guessing he's turning at least 120 plus to maybe 30 or more degrees. All right, but when you have that line over here, when he gets to that big turn, look at where his nose is pointing now. It's back here somewhere about 4 feet behind the ball. Could be more. I don't think it's any less. So he's way back here. So at best, he can maybe see this ball in the outer reaches of his peripheral vision. And I think that might have something to do with all of these guys, all these rotational guys. Because remember, if you were taught before 1992, keep your head still, they wanted a 90-degree shoulder turn. But I'll tell you what, back then, what they really wanted more than anything was nice high hands. They were teaching a vertical swing. All the golf schools back then, all the teachers were taught vertical. The whole paradigm shift happened in 1992 to 93 when the X Factor came out. Because when the key with the X Factor was they were all about the turn. All right? And so when everybody, the more they kept making everybody turn, and no matter how much you turned, it was never enough. Give me some more, give me some more. Come on, give it some more, give it some more. What happens? See, rule number 2. Once your arm grows behind your toe line, it breaks and it starts to rotate. Excuse me, that's rule number 3. Number 2 is palms perpendicular to the ground. So it starts to break and rotate, which means it's not vertical to the ground anymore, so the club's going heavy, which is what they all wanted it. So the more they kept focusing on the turn, they had to change the rules for the hands because nobody could turn and keep the hands vertical. All right? Whereas as long as they were talking about vertical and wanted high hands, even though they wanted parallel, they still wanted high hands, they overlooked the turn. So the rules changed. Those guys were right. The rules did change, but they changed for the worse. Awful. So how do you know? So what I do is, how do you know if your head's moving too much? Well, I want to talk about what I call pure focus. Pure focus means if you stand here and you look at the golf ball, the ball should be in the center of your vision, your focal field. All right? Now, how do you know if it's the center? Well, the center is really out from your nose. Your eyes peer in, they're in an orbit, and in that orbit they can move up and down and around independently. But what most golfers do is we tend to just keep them forward straight forward, and we just bend down to see we see it, rather than keep your head up and make your eyes go down. Now in this case, the way you check it out is if your nose is at the ball. Remember, I always talk about nose at the ball, right? I used to say nose on the ball, but when I got people for preload heavy rod, I started to see them doing this, and they were moving their head the wrong way. So I want nose at the ball. So if I'm here, my nose is at the ball here. If I go to hit a driver, it's up here. What do? I got to just turn my head till my nose is at the ball. How do I know my nose is at the ball and centered? Pure focus is centered. Just close your eyes, open them up, and the ball should be in the dead center of your vision. That's how you check pure focus. So I do this drill. I stand up at students in private lessons at the golf schools, and I say, okay, I want you all to stand there dead still. Now tell me, am I moving or not? They say no. Then I start going like this. I think you can see me, right? I'm going to say, oh, you're going backwards, you're going forward, you're going to the left, you're going to the right. I said, how do you know I'm moving? They said, I can see me on the background. And we got a beautiful background with the trees and the leaves back there. So the background here is the ground. So barring an earthquake, right, or a hurricane where we can blow the ball around, barring any of those two occurrences in nature, if you got a pure focus on this ball and you start to swing and all of a sudden you see the ground and the ball moving that way, it's obvious. They're not moving, so it has to be you moving to the right. Or if you go like this and the ground and the ball, like Tiger's got to be able to see it at some night, the ground and the ball's coming closer to him, is what we see in his every backswing. He goes down, and then if he starts coming back up, so he goes down, and then it starts moving away from him as he comes up. He's got to know it's him. Just use your eyes. The ball can't move. If you see movement of that background being the ground, with your ball sitting on the ground, if there's movement down there, it has to be you, not the ground. So you want to get every good swing wherever you start. When you got your nose at the ball and you got that ball in the middle of your focus, just close your eyes, open it up, the ball's right there. You get from takeaway to top to impact, and everything just stay dead still. You should be hitting some really good shots. That's how you keep yourself still. And in the peak PGS, we want the head still just like the good old days. All right? It's tough to hit a moving ball, even if the ball isn't moving, but your eyes are moving because your head's moving because you're making too big a turn or whatever. Pure focus. Just practice pure focus. You get pure focus, that ball doesn't move, you'll be hitting a much more solid straight, likely longer, and shooting those low scores you want to shoot. All right, so that's it for the search for today on Pure Focus.